they say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I pull out the Glock. Full of suffering, succotash, son.
One of your nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass.
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast, and we've got a really special episode today. I'm joined by a widely heard, well-accomplished professional wrestling commentator and manager, heard in independent companies across the world actually. 8 years of experience, over 1,000 matches called, also 1/3 of KNR, and also you've got 13k subscribers on YouTube, giving me something to aim for. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's TJ Lea. Welcome to the Too Sweet podcast. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, hello, Lucy. Thank you so much for having me. And it's nice to get a rundown. Normally, that's my job. So what we do in the booth. So hearing that back, it's a weird feeling. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah, I mean that's what we do, isn't it? We do our background research and we let it all out in the intros. But yeah, we've been chatting for a while and yapping about commentary mostly. It's been really good to connect with someone who feel like we're on the same wavelength. I can tell you're passionate about wrestling, you're super ambitious, obviously excellent at what you do, and always striving to improve and achieve more. And it's great to get to talk to you properly rather than just over Instagram DMs.
Yeah, it's nice to have a platform to talk shop, and I've seen your podcast, and I'll be very candid with people listening at home. Is I one of the first things I said to you was, I was like, man, not only do you have the passion in what you're doing, but you're marketing yourself really well. Like it's it was something I was like, well, I'm not doing this. Why am I not doing this with the experience I've got, where you've got small clippable bits, you've got these really nice dynamic graphics. And I was like, hey, how do this? I felt like such an such an old man going, excuse me, can you tell me how the TikTok features look here? I need to look really good with it. But I did. I'm open about it. But it really, it was really engaging. And, seeing the passion, obviously, like the shared passion, like I have a certain ethos for this business we'll get into, I'm sure. But yeah, I think the first time I saw you would have been Scotty Rourke sharing a clip of yours from the Bread Shed. And actually, no, it wasn't. It was Spinebuster.
Oh,
And I heard you, and I said to Andy, I was like, who is this? Because it's a femme commentator. We need more of that. Who is this person? And Andy sung your praises. And then a couple months later, I saw the Bread Shed clips with Magic Mark. I was like, oh, this is excellent. And for me, I love surrounding myself with people, especially on the commentary side, the broadcast side, who are passionate. And that's what's really fun about talking with you. So thank you so much for giving me a place to yap and do that professionally.
No, yeah, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. And Spinebuster is one of my favourite places to do commentary, and Andy is a really sound person, and he's given me some my biggest opportunities. And Catch as well, awesome, just a really awesome company to work for. And yeah, I think I made my wrestling Instagram account this year because I was a bit I was sharing things on my private Instagram story. I was like, well, this is getting a bit annoying for people who know me in real life and don't care about wrestling. Maybe it's time to just go whole hog and make the dedicated page. and then that's how we got connected. So I'm really glad that happened. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you. And I think, today let's get more into it and talk more about you and commentary and things like that. Obviously, it's right at the beginning of 2026. I think it would be good to do a lot of reflecting on 2025 and talk about that. But just for the benefit of anyone who might be unfamiliar, can you introduce yourself, tell us about your background, how you've ended up where you are today in wrestling?
Yeah, so I do have a background in broadcast journalism. I think a lot of us who come to the desk tend to have something. Some of us come from radio, some of us come from general journalism. Myself, wrestling was always a big part of my life. As most people start, I was a fan first, and I grew up in the sort of the back end of the Attitude Era, which completely inspired me. I still remember watching WrestleMania X7 with the the excitement just running through me, and then I saw the triangle ladder tables match with the Dudley Boys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, and that was the moment that I was in. I was completely in, and it was a passion that followed me until I was 18, 19, and then I stopped. I think the product and I just weren't aligning. And I fell out of love with it for a bit, and then carried on with my degree and whatnot. And then paths diverge as they do. And I was 25. Massive life changes. I had to come back home. And I found Lucha Underground. And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing in wrestling. And it was also the production. As an actor, as a writer, there was another aspect of wrestling that wasn't really, at the time, professional wrestling was in a place where it wasn't really appealing to me. Like the Wyatts and Shield notwithstanding a couple years prior, that brought me back in for a bit because it was unique and it was different, but it didn't hold me. It would have been around that time, because I remember seeing it's weird how the butterfly effect works, like one butterfly flaps its wings and suddenly you get to a place. And I remember where I saw this advertisement for a company called New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's 2015. And it was, come and check out our show because JR and Matt Stryker are doing commentary. And JR is one of my heroes. I think he is arguably the greatest single booth commentator who's ever walked the earth. Not just because of his voice, but his emotion, his delivery. And even now, 77 years old or something like that, he's just incredible. He hasn't missed a beat. So I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to go check this out. And New Japan blew my mind. And then a couple months later, I move home, I see Lucha, and I'm like, oh, this is something I now want to get involved with. And it was more of I wanted to wrestle. I still kind of do, I guess, in that way that you'll want to get in the ring. I got injured, in training, and I was like, well, I'm going to carry on doing broadcasting, commentary, management, learn the tricks of the trade. And then it's a weird thing how that butterfly effect, because you go from watching a show that's taking place, at Korakuen Hall, and then so many years later, you're there doing it yourself. And that's a very, very odd sort of way of kind of looking at the journey. But yeah, that's what kind of started me there. And the passion is what keeps me. The love of we're in a really transformative phase, I think, in the scene at the moment, and a lot of new things are coming up. And for me, the exciting thing is, what can we do differently? What can I do differently?
That's fascinating. And you said about Lucha Underground, and I wish that Estelle, my usual co-host, was here too, because we always talk about Lucha Underground and how much that was so unique and how much we loved it and really brought us back into wrestling, or kept us into wrestling when we maybe didn't enjoy WWE, for instance. And Lucha Underground was doing everything. They were doing intergender wrestling. It was diverse. It was different. It was story driven. And we always say, oh, we need to go back and watch it and do a review on the podcast, but we haven't got around to that yet. But
just Eva Lise alone, watching Eva Lise do her thing. Again, background issues notwithstanding with Pei, they were the most exciting product on television in the world of wrestling. And I mean, that's why we have MLW doing what they do, and I'm very grateful for that. It's not the same. But before AEW came along, to me, at least before I watched New Japan, that was the alternative product. Like, Lucha was the US product I watched, and New Japan was the foreign product I watched. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to a place like with Lucha. It was such an expensive experiment, but it has given us, when you look at it, and I'm sure you and your host know this, the level of stars that we've got now that have come through Lucha, which was 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
Blows my mind.
No, it wasn't. Because I just remember being a kid and coming home and watching. Well, I was like a teenager, but coming home and watching it at home and being so excited. That was my go-to thing. I think it was on a Wednesday night, and Thursday come home and watch Lucha Underground. And yeah, I think watching the women in Lucha Underground definitely inspired me. And around that time, the women's evolution was happening, and I was like, oh, okay, so this actually is a space that maybe I can be welcome in. Which
that's cool.
Lucha Underground, I think, did play a big part in that, and also NXT and the Four Horsewomen, etc., etc. And also what you mentioned about JR and the New Japan commentary that he did, that just reminds me, I read his autobiography recently. I think it was his most recent one, where he talked about that and how they had different, he was commentating on the one that was broadcast to US audiences or something, and then they had a different commentary team behind the paywall, on New Japan World, I believe. And he said, well, I think they got a little bit of criticism for that, but he was like, well, my purpose was to bring in the casual audience and bring a WWE fan, for instance, into New Japan. And you just saying that, I mean, it pretty much proves exactly what he said. Like you said, you see that JR and Matt Stryker are doing it, so you checked it out. It just proves exactly that he was correct when he said that.
Advertisement. And I didn't, do you know what? I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was a paywalled commentary team. I I to this day don't know, but I remember I think it was Wrestle Kingdom, maybe 7 or 6. It wasn't high up at the number. But the match that. I mean, it was so many good matches, but the call I still remember, even though it wasn't JR doing his Attitude Era screams and whatnot, it was him introducing Shinsuke Nakamura, and Nakamura was doing this incredible walk, and this is during his older King of Strong style thing, and it was just him describing like Nakamura as a background, like, you know, he loves Freddie Mercury, he's an absolute killer in there, and it completely captivated watching him and Kota Ibushi in the way, watching JR do matches that were very clearly not the kind of matches he's used to. It's like, well, this guy at this point, JR's in his 60s. It's like, if he could do it like that, like, and he can adapt at that point, you know, anyone could do anything when it comes to the world of broadcasting. But it really opened my eyes to what was, and you know what's really full circle about it? It's crazy given that this is what the 2nd of January. The main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP heavyweight belt, and it was Okada lost. He was the ace at the time, and he went back crying. And how appropriate that in just a couple days' time, Tanahashi-san's final match is coming up against that very same man on the highest attended and highest gate for a Wrestle Kingdom, or even a New Japan attended event, and I couldn't be happier that he's got, I think it's 56,000 people.
It's sold out, hasn't it?
That's so cool. Yeah. 10 years later, that's such a cool thing.
It's very poetic, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. Very, very full circle moment. So I mean, I guess you've sort of already answered this question. I wanted to ask you, like, who your biggest wrestling influences / inspirations are. I guess assume that JR is up on there.
Yeah, as a performer, as an overall rounder, it will always be Bray Wyatt. Bray, yes. When I was doing, when I first started doing managing, and I worked in up in Hope Future, where we helped start that company, when it was I mean, I'm so happy with what they're doing. They are absolutely killing it. But back in the day, when the first few shows started up, we were at Shirebrook, and we did the Nottingham shows, and they were very not well attended, like 3 to 10 people, and it was just go out there, get the ball and run with it, and everyone worked so hard, and a lot of them still there. But I was doing this cult leader gimmick, and I was honest, my whole thing was Bray Wyatt, and he was someone who, when you look at him and his physique, the way he carried himself, the way he did promos, the way he did everything, there was this fundamental understanding of the business from the entertainment down to the ring work, no wasted movements. But it was when he passed, I was doing a show, and I remember thinking, like, how sad it was, but also, like, a genius like that, not to be cynical, but there are people like that where you're like, they burn brightly and then they're gone. And I just remember thinking, like, it's such a shame, but, you know, these things do happen. But he was, as a performer, one of my heroes. And like you said, JR, I think is incredible. He's been the voice of 5 decades, and you don't get to that stage without being both memorable and incredible at what you do. And I would say, and this is a bit of a weird one, but on a ring work level, it's Stan Hansen. Stan is just one of those guys who is so unafraid to acclimate, like, bring his American style wrestling, but acclimate to the American audience, the Japanese audience, and do it in such an authentic manner. He ended up becoming one of their biggest stars, and with a lariat that, to this day, the only person outside of one called Manders, who I think has the best lariat in the business, and Gunther, like, he has the most iconic lariat ever. And I think you just watch a man like that perform in his era, and you're like, you're seeing something special. There's so many modern era people, but they're either peers or people that I want to work with. So they're not in the hero category as someone who I grew up watching,
Yeah, 100%. I could totally understand what you mean, and it's so interesting that, yeah, I probably would never have guessed Stan Hansen, but I totally understand it. So I think you touched on it a little bit there, but you do commentary, the off-screen stuff, but you're very familiar with the on-screen things as well, manager, and also general manager, and a little bit of wrestling as well. So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that, and what can I ask, like, what do you prefer doing? Do you have a preference?
Yeah, well, so the wrestling thing never really took off. I don't want to give a false interpretation. Like, I wanted to kind of go and do it, and I got injured like really early in training with a rotator cuff problem, and then never really got it looked at, which was the dumbest thing. And every time I've tried to pick that back up, my shoulder has only kind of been the issue, and I'm getting older. It's like I really want to do it, even just to do it to say I've done it. I have that desire to get in the ring. I'm willing to get a little bit hurt, and you know, I put myself through it to say I've done it. That, ironically, is the thing that motivates me the most, because it's a desire. I've not done that. But overall, what do I prefer is a tricky one. I am an actor by trade, so I would say overall, I'm never more alive than when I get to perform, you know, doing on-screen camera work, and that's why I've tried to do more of it the last year, and certainly in 2026. Where I'm most comfortable is obviously going to be commentary. It's always going to be commentary. That is my wheelhouse. That's my home. I would never go as far as saying it's a day off, but you know that when you are comfortable in a place, you know the wrestlers, you know the formalities, you don't need to have that part of your brain switched on. You can just lock into what you're doing, and you can let it's the flow state, which is a lovely thing to happen. But in terms of, like, you know, managing and whatnot, obviously, you know, I've got KNR, and we had a really cool thing, and then injuries came up. It's just the worst timing you could possibly imagine. But we have talked, and we know what we want to do, and it's going to allow a lot of the things I've been doing to intersect with Ender and Alice. So that is my launch pad. If I'm going to do anything in the ring, it would be they're my best friends. Like, I wouldn't feel safe without them there, and guiding me. At the end of the day, like, you know, I need to get in better shape. I am still a commentator and a manager first, and so the perception is like, you know, I'm not going in there having a 5-star match, but there is one rule I have always applied myself to, which is if you ever see me in a ring, I need to be in decent shape, I need to move properly, and I need to not embarrass the business that I have lent 8 years of my life calling for. I will not get in there for a laugh and then look stupid and, by logic, make the business look stupid. I'm not willing to do that, because in my opinion, if I go in there and I'm actually having a match rather than taking a bump, I'm damaging the credibility of the business. There's a very big difference between a segment where some asshole comes up and needs to choke slam you or whatever. That's, you can do whatever. But if it's like, go in there and have a serviceable 8 to 10 minute match, I no one would look at that if I was bad and then come back and go, well, you know, do you really know your stuff? Because you don't even know how to do an international. You don't know how to do a hammerlock into a wrist lock, or a hip toss and an arm drag combination. Like, if you can't do those things and do them well, in my mind, this might be me overthinking, I feel like it would damage my credibility.
I completely agree, and I completely respect that, because I think that a lot of people maybe look at lots of roles in wrestling and think, oh, that's easy, I can do that. Or like, you know, you've gotten in, maybe you're whatever role you might be, ring announcer, commentator, whatever it might be, and think, oh yeah, I'll go do a rumble spot. It's no big deal. I just need to learn how to go over the top rope, right? And no, that's not right at all. So yeah, I totally really appreciate the amount of thought that you put into that, and you want to respect and protect the business. I think that's so correct. I wish that more people in indie wrestling had that level of respect for it, certainly, and it's not something
hard, you know,
that's
like,
on my radar.
I've seen, I think it's also, I've seen people get seriously injured in the ring, and we have lost people through wrestling, and when people have died in this sport and they have been irrevocably damaged by this sport and they've given their lives with a willing smile for this sport, I do believe that there are some traditional perspectives that are a little bit outdated, but one thing I do very firmly believe is that when you step in that ring, it is a sacred bond between you and whoever else is in there, of safety, of trust, and of entertainment. No matter what you're doing, you have an obligation to preserve a nearly 2-century history. And I think to myself, like, you know, when I get up to that canvas and I wipe my feet and I get in, it's like, I don't necessarily believe in like energy massively, but like in the idea of you are carrying forward that energy, and you can't make other people think the way you do. And I think this is the thing, is like, one of the things that I believe is I do take this business seriously. I still have a laugh at it, because that's the point, but this isn't just something I do for a little hobby. And whenever I've taught people with commentary, I've told them, like, if you want to go out and travel and go flying places, and you want to go and be the person people rely on, not just for one promotion, multiple, you need to show that you work hard, you play hard, that you take it seriously. Because if you don't, and you don't respect the business and you have too many nights off, well, the promoter's not going to trust you and they'll find someone else. The fans won't really want to listen to you, and the workers won't respect you. And for me, it all boils back down to perception is everything. And when it comes to being in that ring, I would love to be seen in that same vein as a terrifying wrestler when I come out and do my gimmick or not. But let's be realistic. I'm 5'6". I'm not in the best shape. And even if I was, like, it's not the most threatening thing. So my voice, my personality has to carry that. And it's the job of my tag partners in Endakara and Alice Inc. to be those people. Sure, I can go in there and take a lariat, or I can lariat someone. But you have a framework to work within. And then eventually I'm going to go and sit back down behind that desk. And people need to look and go, that person's someone I can trust. That's a trusted voice in broadcasting, because we are the difference sometimes between someone getting into the business or getting passionate about and buying a ticket and not buying it. And like you said, some people do go in thinking it's going to be easy, and it's not, and it looks awkward. It depends on what your perspective is personally.
Yeah, and I completely agree with everything you just said, and especially, I've always come at it with that sort of mindset of any role I've done in wrestling, no matter how small or how little the audience might potentially be, I'm always going to take it 100% seriously, because I love wrestling. And also, if this company, it might be the smallest indie promotion in the world, they're still trusting me with the role, with some of their like stories or whatever it might be. So why wouldn't I take it seriously and treat it like it's a real sport and it's awesome, it's the most exciting thing ever? Why the hell wouldn't I do that? And sometimes I don't know, I turn up at a promotion, I've got my realms of notes that I've prepared as things like, God, you've done your homework, haven't you? You don't need all that. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I kind of do. I mean, obviously, everyone has their own way of approaching things, but it's like, that's, I want to be prepared. I take it seriously. I'm not sort of just sitting back and having a laugh on commentary and just having it there for a good time, there to put myself over. Not at all. The wrestler's putting on a beautiful piece of artwork. I want to sprinkle some glitter on that. I don't want to take a shit all over it. That's kind of the way I look at it.
You just launched on two things that I think is really good. It's like, one, the promotional side. I think it's the same as being a wrestler in that sense of we all want to work the biggest companies. Most of us will never do that, and that's just a crushing reality. And so you make do with how high can you go. And some people, through lack of motivation, through lack of ability to travel, and some people just don't want to, they'll be at one promotion that's very small, very limited, but it means everything to them. It means everything to their fans. So some places where the wrestling is not the best quality, but they sell out every ticket because they've got a dedicated market. They have dedicated people. When you turn up there, Billy Big Bollocks, and you've done all these things, and you don't care about it, nobody looks shit but you. No one looks bad. Like the wrestling may be bad, quote unquote, and there is bad wrestling, but it has a purpose. It has a place, because those people are selling tickets and entertainment, which is what wrestling is. It is nothing without the entertainment factor. And for some places, especially in impoverished areas in the UK, which have been hit by the cost of living crisis, where they can't afford to go to the theatre, they can't afford to go out. So the family outing is spending £27 on a ticket of 4 and going to wrestling. You are their lifeline to ensure they're engaged. And on the other side of that, conversely, and you know this, and I know this, there are some places, through no fault of their own, but because you will get comfortable sometimes, you'll bring all your notes, you'll say, give me feedback, and you won't get anything. And that's not a negative, it's just that some places move so quickly, and they're so comfortable with you, they're like, you know what you're doing. It's like, I really want to learn, like, please. And then you'll get the notes, and you're like, I actually didn't need these notes, but I've got them, and they will get their usage. It's like, you can't win. Like, you can go to the most professional of places, prepared to do all the extra work, and you'll just flow with it when you go to the places that are lower level, if you will, and you don't think about it too much. You're like, oh, it's easy because I know what I'm doing. And then you don't end up taking a shit on it, but you end up shitting on it accidentally by not being prepared. And it's a tough one, man.
That's so true. It's so true, isn't it? Because I think big timing any anyone or anything in wrestling is just it's so bad. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're all wrestling fans at the end of the day, and we've all got the same goal. You would hope, but it reminds me. Sometimes people have said to me, this actually happened to me more than once. Well, no one's gonna ever watch this. No one's ever gonna hear your commentary on this. So why do you care so much? On one hand, that has actually helped me in the past when I felt like it went a bit shit. And someone said, well, don't worry about it. Not many people are going to hear it. I'm like, actually, you're right. That just made me feel a bit better. But I don't like to look at it with that attitude because it's really not about that. Because there's so many different aspects to, and obviously you will know this, having called so many independent matches, they're put out on paid streaming platforms for the most part. Fans paid for this. They deserve quality. The wrestlers deserve high quality footage that they can send to other people to get more work. I've actually heard in the past of people having the commentary has actually ruined it and they haven't been able to send footage even though it's a good match. Do you know what I mean? And
yes, I do.
as well, if we're putting some good sound bites on things, that can be used for like promo packages, like highlight reels, marketing material, things like this. There's so many more avenues. It's not as simple as, well, this independent show is really tiny and they're just going to upload it to YouTube for free and like 10 people are going to watch it. No, even if that's true, which it's not, I don't care anyway. I still want to put my effort into it. Why wouldn't I? If I'm getting paid to do something, I'm not going to... Why would I slack off and just do low effort? I don't know. That, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Sitting there and assuming that's not going to go anywhere is a defeatist prospect. Just like you're going, if you go into a wrestling match with an individual that perhaps is not of your level, or you're both low level, you're like, well, who cares? There's only 10 people. It's like, well, that 10 people, it could end up going somewhere. You don't know. And also, when it comes to broadcasting, the level of marketing is incredibly important because, one of the things that we forget to do when we're in the booth, when you're in a voice talent position, whether that's announcing, general broadcasting, commentary, or managing, is that we also need to be selfish. This is a business that is largely collaborative in the sense of it doesn't work with everybody there, but we are still performers. We are still doing a performance, and you have to be willing to be selfish and get yourself put out because, yes, your voice will be on the product, but that's only if the product gets it out with your voice on it quickly, which most places don't simulcast, which is a privilege. So wrestlers want to get their footage out, understandably, so they're not going to wait for the broadcasting one, which for us is a lifeline. So it's like I record the beginnings, so I've always got something to put up with my face on it, or I make sure that I sync the footage and get up, when I get there. But how you do that, like I always work with this idea of at least one match on every show could go on my reel, like a general show reel. So you never know what match that'll be. You never know the level of talent. But if you choose clippable moments, treating it almost like a Twitch stream, you'll have a much better perspective of why it's important. But at the core of it, again, take the selfishness out, take all everything else. So you just hit the nail on the head. It's for the audience. Someone is paying for it. Someone will come over and watch it. I still get people mentioning the Matt Riddle match, and that was my 5th match I called, and that was like 2016. Like these things, like 2017, excuse me. But like these things, like they have traction much, much further on than what we assume they do. And so you're going in with the mindset of be selfish and think about the optics is, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
And so you mentioned there, like, your 5th match, I believe you said, that you ever called back in 2017. You've obviously been around for a really long time. What's the secret for lasting so long? And most people, I mean, I don't want to say most people, a lot of people, especially in sort of broadcast positions, not really sure why, just kind of tend to hang up the proverbial boots after not that long. So what's made you stick around?
Do you know what? I've not really noticed that. I maybe I should be more aware of things like that. Passion. I mean, I won't lie, and I'll be completely candid. There have been multiple times where I have essentially said, if I don't get where I want to go, then I want to do this anymore. But that's because of the standard I hold myself to, insofar that I am not here to have a laugh and do this as a little part-time job. Like I'm very much. I want to go as far as I can, and if I can't hit those ceilings because either I'm not good enough, the companies don't want me, or there isn't a place for me, then I would see out a year, and I'd go, look, you know what, I'm good. Now, the benefit I have is, unlike in wrestling where your body gives out, it's simply down to my own energy levels, and, but it is an ego-driven business. We all have to have an ego. You have to believe you are good at what you do, especially in broadcasting where confidence leads above all else. You must believe that you are an authority on the product. You can't let anybody tell you that you're not an authority. Otherwise, why are you sitting in that booth talking about a technical exchange, telling us about why that person's a threat, telling us why that bump hurts? Like, you've got to believe that. And to extent of that, you have to believe that you're the best in your area. Even if you're not, self-belief matters in that sense. And for me, that self-belief has kept me going when I've had in moments of real self-doubt. And I think for me, I believe in new challenges. You know, I'm very proud of the work I've done, but I'm nowhere near satisfied with it. And there are things I could do about that, and there are things I can't do about that. And I think you have to be hungry. I don't believe in any aspect of this business you will survive if you do not have the love and the passion for it. And that, as you know, does mean sacrifices. That means sacrificing relationships, friendships, funerals, weddings, engagements, and regular obligations. You will be saying no to a lot of people, because if you want it, they're not going to wait on you. You know, most places, if they want you, it won't be here's a show in 2 months, sign a contract. It's the day of, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I got to go to my friend's wedding. Well, I have this opportunity, and it's got these guys and this position. Forget the money, because the money won't be that big of a deal, but it's more of this is where it goes. You go, shit, make a phone call and deal with that person who you care about fucking hating you, because you've now just ruined something of that connection. But it's for the love of the business. You're giving back to something that will never give you as much as you give it. But that's kind of why we love it. So for me, like, I have that agreement with wrestling. I know what it is. You have to want it. You have to.
I think that's really fascinating, because it's clear you're ambitious. You've got the drive. It's obvious, and I think that's so true. And people say it a lot, even in you know, the UK, even just in the Northwest scene where I'm mostly based. Yeah, there's sacrifices that have to be made, and I totally echo what you have said, which is like, I'm not here for a laugh. Like, it's not a fun little side hustle hobby for me, even though it is a fun hobby that I do really enjoy, and it is technically, I guess you'd say, something that I do on the side. I'm taking it seriously. I really seriously want to do this. So yes, I'm going to put time into it. Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice my weekends and time with my family, and I'm going to travel. I'm going to be tired at work the next day, but my colleagues are going to have to deal with it, because I care about wrestling way more than I care about my 9 to 5 job, because that to me is just means to an end to put petrol in my car so I can get to more wrestling shows. So yeah,
well, it's an escape, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing, is like, there's no, to be clear, like, there are people who have not got that desire to go further, but they're still really good at what they do, and they're needed. And that's the point, is at every level, whether it's managing, broadcasting, photography, announcing, wrestling, there must be people of every level who, you know, make up our foundation. The majority of people in our business will not, nor do they want to go further. And that's good. Because if everybody was like, I'm only going to be in this unless I get here or I'm done, there would be no business. There would be nothing. And it would be a worse business for it. Like, we should all want to be better. We should all want to strive for something. But, you know, not everybody can be a man like Darius. You know, and more power to them for trying. Or a Leon Slater. You know, more power to them for trying. Or a Holly Barlow. Like, these individuals, like, who are clearly destined to go and do great things. Or Leon Cage. Like, they can't be that, and trying to be is fool's gold. I like to think of it like, I can't be Dave Bradshaw. I don't want to try and be Dave Bradshaw. I need to be me, and I need to be in a good enough position that should someone like Dave Bradshaw or Tom Campbell say, I can't do this show, but there's someone of the caliber who can, that's where I have to be at. And, you know, I always think when people hear these things, like, I don't ever want someone to feel attacked. Like, what I'm willing to sacrifice does not mean anyone's lesser for not doing it. It's just simply if you sit and travel with a wrestler of a certain level of repute, none of them will say, oh, I've had an easy time of it. There's no way. Everyone gives up something. Most of the time, it's family time to go and do what they do.
And it's funny what you said about if someone like Dave Bradshaw or Tom Campbell can't make it to a show, that's when you step in. That's your opportunity, because that is 100% been my experience. All of my opportunities have ever come up because someone else hasn't been able to make it, and they've said, why don't you ask Lucy? And I'm so grateful for that.
Love that.
And that's what it's about. It's about being the person who can step up, being reliable to the point where someone will think of you and be like, okay, this person might be available. Let's turn to them. We trust them to do it. And a lot of that is luck, but also networking and in who you know, and making the most of opportunities that you do get, so that, you know, it's more likely that people will remember and put their what's the metaphor I'm looking for? Like stick their leg out for you. What on earth
Stick
is that
their neck
metaphor?
out for you.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I was
It's
getting
also
at.
reliability. I mean, a promoter needs to know they can trust you. Some promoters have a very specific vibe in mind for their product, and you can be as good as you want in broadcasting or in wrestling, but it might not be what they want, or the look you have, and the way you present, and that's also just being accepting that you aren't for everybody. My look is very alternative. My vibe, I'm very off the cuff. I don't have that like squeaky clean style, and that to some places is not what they want. Just accepting that and knowing that. I think once that's fine, as long as it's a kind of discrimination. Like, you should never be told that you can't have a position in a company because you're a woman. Like, that's where, like, I think my reasoning kind of is like, well, why? Where's that logic in that? I understand it from a perspective of look and general vibes of how you do commentary, but there are places that still have that stigma attached to who they want, how they want it to sound. And I think that's something where I'm a bit like, don't stick women's voices or women's wrestlers, not wrestling, or women's shows and women's matches. Put them on every other, like, normal cards. Like, if you would have a woman doing a regular match, why wouldn't you ever doing a death match? Like, have her commentate the death match. It shouldn't make a difference. Like, this implication that you can only call women's matches is such a strange thing, because are we implying that there's a different formula to women's matches to call? Like, it's silly. But it's still a pervasive thing in the business. It's nowhere near as bad as it was. But there are places that would still not want to commit to that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? But I think, because obviously people wouldn't. I don't feel like anyone would ever say to my face, "I'm not going to book you because you're a woman," and I don't like women. You would hope that no one would ever say that, but you do sometimes get that sort of underlying feeling that maybe that is the case. But well, you yourself, you're non-binary. I'm right in saying, are you comfortable in talking about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's he, they. I've been out for many years. I'm not. I will say, compared to some of my trans friends, who are loud and proud about it, and I love that. I'm not been, and I think the reason I haven't been is more of a personal thing of, I have personally never wanted a company to only book me for that. That has been one of my greatest professional fears, is being told, we're running a queer show. What do you think? And I'm like, well, I think that's great, but why are you coming to me because you love what I do, or are you coming to me because I'm non-binary? Now, if someone wants to utilize that aspect of themselves to get a booking, because it's like, give representation, like a trans wrestler should be on shows, in the same way that we kind of have that thing of, you should have more than one women's match, not just a women's match, but a compelling story for a women's match. I mean, Dan Reed has talked to this to death, so I won't repeat it, but like, he's not wrong. Like, promotions have no excuse with the crop of talent, where they should at least have one women's match with a compelling story on every card. Now, I understand it can't happen, and we don't need to be giving people shit if it doesn't, but if it repeatedly keeps happening. So on that same level, there's a lot of openly queer wrestlers where queer identity is a big part of what they do. We have a good crop of them now, and we also have trans wrestlers. Again, it's like looking at what you've got and going, well, could we put this in a place where it's not a token? It's not here's the queer match, where, you're going to have a very campy guy versus a very not campy guy, and they're doing the whole, I'm not gay. You can have a good wrestling match without that. And Catch has proven that, and TNT has proven that there is a plethora of talent that does not need those gimmicks. And I think it's the same with broadcasting. I know, like, Vader Scott is very vocal about being non-binary, and more power to them. Like, absolutely love that. It just isn't something for me that I think also Vader is much further up the chain, and they've had more time where they know they're going to get booked for the talent rather than their identity. For me, I think as on a confidence level, if a company I deeply respected brought me in because they had a quota to fill, that would make me not want to do it, because it's not like it's not my successes, and so, like, even though I'm very proud of who I am, and my first novel is about that, and it's all there, I've never been one to sort of shout and get aggressive about it, because, like, I know I won't win hearts and minds that way. And I think I'll always mention it on comms if there's a good place for it, but I also just know that the way to get people's attention on trans issues in the country we're in now and the world we live in now, I need to do it in a way where it's not over the top. People come to wrestling, they don't necessarily want to go straight in for that, and there's nothing wrong with them not wanting to hear it when they're coming for wrestling. It's just you have to find the right avenue to make that, to open that discussion up.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that, because it's a fine line, isn't it? You want to be proud, you want representation, it's incredibly important, but then when is it appropriate? When does it just become a talking issue? I completely understand. I think that True Grit Wrestling are a company that I personally think do that quite well. Every Pride Month they do a Pride show where they just book completely queer talent across the entire roster, but it's not just like, okay, pull everyone in for this show and then off you go. These people are integrated within the roster throughout the year. It's just that maybe they pull in some people that they maybe never had before, and they want to give a young up and coming queer talent like that platform. And they do have quite a big platform. They're on I believe they're on Triller TV. They have quite a dedicated fan base there. And they also have a Pride Championship. I think Adam Bolt is currently champion, and he defends that like throughout the year. And people like Kid Bandit wrestles for True Grit, and huge draw. Like people do want to come and watch Kid Bandit wrestle. So I think there's ways to do it that are great, and great for representation, and great for a kid in the audience watching thinking, yes, that's me. That makes me feel like I can go and do that. And it's funny though, because it was a referee, actually, a female referee, said to me, I always just worry that they only book me because I'm a girl. Like, do you think, like, and she was like, do you ever feel like that? And I was like, gosh, that never even crossed my mind until you just said that. And it made me do some reflection, like, do I think that's ever been the case? Like, someone literally just thought, need a little bit more representation here. We're not very diverse, are we? Let's stick a lass on commentary. And I don't know. We'll never ever know, obviously, like what the intentions or like drivers behind a certain decision are. But I do think that the places where I've worked, it would only ever be on merit of, actually, yeah, I'm all right, because it's been like a repeated booking. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't like a one-off situation that maybe, but I just tell myself, Lucy, if you were really shit at commentary and they only put you on because you're a female, they wouldn't keep on booking you.
No, any integrity wouldn't. But I think you've hit the nail on the head. There is a very fine line between representation and merit. And I think there has to be a conversation, both for myself as someone who is, masculine presenting non-binary, for yourself as a woman, where it's like, we do need representation, but we also think you're good. And it's like, I don't mind it on that level of, hey, we want someone non-binary, but we also think you're good. We're going to bring you for more than one show. This is not just a token thing. It's a really tough line. I think you've just hit the nail on the head there of like, some places will just book you for that, but at the same time, that's sometimes the only way you can get through the door. Like, I'm not clocky, in non-binary. Like, I'm very much, what people think of non-binary is a whole conversation, because it's not androgyny, and a lot of people think, well, you don't look like you've got the blue hair and no facial hair and like smooth skin. It's like, well, that's androgyny. Like, I'm non-binary in the sense that I don't feel femme, but I also don't feel masc, and you get that dysphoria. And that's a whole complicated thing, but also I've got a voice that, is very clearly masked, but it also has aspects of it that I think make other trans people feel seen, especially when they're going through HRT. And I want people to feel heard. And I think one of the most important things I always remember is every year, more and more now, I see more and more trans wrestling fans. Trans people love wrestling because it's transformative, because it's going out there and it's being the person that in your head and what you want to be perceived as your truest self, and living your best life. And to a trans person in the United States, which is a blighted hellscape of fascism, where they're not able to be who they are. And the fact that me just saying this could get me banned on a flight there is insane. And I have no filter on it. Like, it's ridiculous. And God bless Effie for the work he does out there. But he's one man. There's other queer people like Kid Bandit, but they're fighting a very Dark Sheik. They're fighting a losing battle in that sense at the moment. And I'm sure it'll get better. But where those people go to Raw, they go to Dynamite, they go to Collision, they want to feel represented and seen. And for them, in a world that is largely not understanding them, is trying to kill them, and is making their lives a living hell, going to wrestling is an escape. And in the UK, whether it's trans fans or it's people under the poverty line, people with mental health issues, wrestling is their escape. Watching the beautiful art play out between two technical wizards, watching a compelling storyline pay off after 14 months, watching death matches, whatever it may be, it's there. And even for us, that as the vehicle, the voice that carries that, there's a degree of responsibility there. And I've had trans audience members come up to me both at the show and in my DM saying, like, you know, they really appreciate being represented. And I'm not doing anything overt by doing that. And I feel I should do more, which is just a personal reflection thing. But it's sometimes it's just enough for them to know one of their own is sat there doing that. So like you said, a little girl at home may hear you and go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Like, I don't want to wrestle or I can't wrestle, but I didn't know that was an option because I've always known refereeing, managing, and photography. Oh, I can do broadcasting, and you open that door for them by doing that. That's the shit that matters.
Yeah, exactly. And you saying, you know, you think you should be doing more, but I think that what you said, even just, you don't have to be, oh, everyone, I'm a non-binary commentator, I'm you know, you don't have to do that to still have power in the position that you're in. And I think for me, I've said this for so long, that the power of wrestling is the power of representation, because it's not a real sport, right? So the underdog can win.
Yes.
The short little guy can overcome the bullies. And I think that's so powerful. I think that sends such a positive message to children, and like adults who, I mean, anyone in any walk of life who's a bit different, who is, you know, a minority, who maybe is being bullied. You know, I've had conversations with, at my local, like, hometown promotion, a very impoverished place in the world, and a little kid was telling me, I really like how the wrestlers are. They seem like a bit different, like a bit weird, like they're just like me, because this kid gets bullied at school and stuff, and he's like, I want to be a wrestler when I grow up. I want to be like that. It's like you just see people who aren't, like, a bit quirky, maybe a bit socially awkward, maybe queer, maybe, I don't know, any other, just something that they can relate to, whatever that is, and that is it. That's the power of representation. And it's so true. Again, what you said about trans people finding power in wrestling, because you're watching someone, like, turning, that's the cliche, isn't it? Turning yourself up to 1,000. That's the best wrestling character you can be. Yeah. But it's like you're presenting yourself how you want to be seen, and it's this different version of yourself. And it's such a beautiful escape, especially in, unfortunately, like you were talking about, today's political climate. And, you know, transgender people are one of the most marginalized minorities in the entire world. If they're safe at a wrestling show and they feel seen, they feel safe, they feel represented, then that's a win, big time win for everyone. It's
a simple thing to say in your show that you are safe here, and I think the bare minimum any promotion could do is say that. I don't think, oh, we're in a school with kids, we can't say it. Kids know what gay people are. They bloody well should do. And you're not going to magically cast a spell that turns your kid gay, although that is a very reductive thing in itself, by saying at a show that takes place in a school, if you're queer, you're safe here. And if that venue is like, well, you can't say that because it's Catholic school, then don't run the venue. Run somewhere else. Right. Like I think it's also a university in America. We have to run a lot of church halls, a lot of Masonic halls, and conservative clubs. Most places don't care. Most places will not say anything to you. I would honestly be more surprised if they went, you can't say that. Like, you know, generally speaking, it's mostly hate speech. But the promoter, in my mind, has a responsibility. Statistically speaking, at least one person in every single locker room will be neurodivergent or queer. And I know that older people and people who are perhaps more right-wing will say, well, this wasn't around when I was younger. It was. Queer people have always been around, and neurodivergent is around. I'm on the spectrum. I'm a masker, and so I didn't know growing up. We didn't have a word for it, even though it was there in the 2000s. It took until I was 27. There's a reason that people in like the back end of the zillennials, if you will, and Gen Z are now finding out, because we've moved our science forward and our understanding of neurodivergencies and queerness forward. And so when you are in this scene, and at least 1 in every 30 people that you have in a locker room has a disability, a hidden disability, a neurodivergency, or something within them that might be queer, you have that obligation to make them feel seen. I don't think you need to go overboard if you don't want to, and if that's not the brand, but it could be as simple as putting out a pride flag. It could be as simple as saying, you are safe here. It takes 5 seconds, and it will make people feel infinitely safer. There is one promotion that shall not be named that goes the opposite direction, and is very much, they relish in their ability to be anti all that. I don't need to name them. They don't deserve any publicity. You know exactly who I'm talking about. We owe them nothing, but they are a laughing stock. They are an absolute disgrace of a company, because whether it's a work or not, when you platform on an idea of fascism in wrestling as well, of all the things to do it in, it's silly, and it's almost pantomime level evil, but you're not going to get anywhere. And if anything, you just turn more people off. Yeah, you'll get some hardcore people, because every ideology has that, but you'll never get the crowds and the people and the passion of regular wrestling fans who make up the business, who archive the business, who collate history of the business. Those people are almost always neurodivergent and queer, and they will not go to those shows.
Totally agree with you, and that's the beauty of going to a wrestling show, that usually, and obviously it's getting better nowadays as well, like the crowd is so diverse. You've got a mix of ages, assuming it's not an 18+ show, you've got a mix of genders, you've got a mix of races, you've got neurodivergent, you've got queer people of all different identities, and I love that. I love that this community makes people feel safe. And just a couple of things there, what you said about, like working in churches and Masonic halls and stuff. True Grit do their Pride show every year in that deconsecrated church.
So pretty.
Beautiful.
Man, True Grit, I've never worked for them, but one thing I will say, they know their footage, because my God, whenever I see clips, I will stop scrolling and look, just because I'm like, this is not only beautifully filmed, the venues are stunning. Like, it's an importance of footage, how good your footage is can sometimes really pull someone in. Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
It's funny as well, because you said about schools. The other venue they do in York is a secondary school, actually, but yeah. And as well, the company I was talking about earlier, my hometown wrestling company, is Knockout Wrestling. And really simple things they do to make people feel welcome is, for example, they had I'm not sure if they still do it, but I definitely remember it stuck in my mind. They had just a pride flag and like a rainbow, and then a trans flag just in the corner. It's very subtle. And ALP, the ring announcer, and also the promoter, who we have also done an interview with on the podcast, he opens the show by saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, and any of my non-binary friends who may be in attendance," and it's just like so simple, so easy to do. You're not really putting in any extra effort just to add that little bit, but who knows the impact that might have on the non-binary kid in the audience who's like, oh, this is a safe place for me. And also, wrestling comes from working class roots, essentially, and we've covered this on the podcast.
Yes, 100%.
We did a whole episode about, is wrestling working class still? It certainly was once upon a time. It's arguable whether it is now, but these are the roots, ordinary people, right? So then it needs to, in my mind anyway, represent the people, the mixed, diverse audience, and it needs to not alienate people. And I totally agree with what you said. Like, if you want to be divisive with your views, you want to make it super political, unwoke, and what have you, okay, you might that's the niche audience that you might be bringing in, but you're never going to get the masses. It's just not going to happen.
No, I agree, and I must say I need to watch that video. But you're right. Like, professional wrestling as a product has always appealed to the working class. And in our country, I have said many times, we have several deep-rooted problems. Nowhere near as bad as America, in my opinion, but our problem that has always been our biggest problem for nearly 2,000 years has been classism. I couldn't tell you what the number one principled issue is, but it is something that is so pervasive within British culture that, you know, the North has always been shafted versus the South when it comes to the way it has had investments in its products. So when we talk about impoverished areas, people mostly think of seaside towns and they think of northern territories, which have been abandoned largely by, you know, the governments of the last 40 to 50 years, regardless of alignment. And I think one thing that is important is wrestling is that escape, and wrestling must stay accessible. It must stay cheap, because, you know, the moment that we start pricing it, whether it's because of the economy or otherwise, when we start pricing it to a point where the average punter cannot come in, that's a problem. You know, wages haven't really gone up. The national living wage hasn't really gone up in about properly in like 12 years. And I say properly, what I mean is it has not risen in concurrency with the standard of living, to the point that now, I mean, houses are 300% higher than what they were prior to the credit crunch. Our generation is no longer able to own a home in their lifetime. Something our parents were, you know, it was easy for them, or easier for them, and for our grandparents was simple. Regardless of what people say, there was a simpler path to getting there. And as a result, people are oftentimes very broke, to the point that one of the things I always remind people of whenever we talk about poverty, if you've ever lived poor, you'll always remember how much bread and milk costs. That's the line in the sand of, like, you'll always know within a margin of 25 to 50 pence how much your bread costs. If you don't know that, you probably haven't had to struggle so severely. And for some people to come to shows, their only treat for the month is that professional wrestling show. If you don't give them something to feel safe and secure and unite them with people, then they will take that anger of being poor, and someone will spin a mic and say, you know who you should be mad at for your lack of income, for the jobs that you can't get, and, you know, all the benefits being claimed. It's the strange foreign people off the boats. Look at this AI video of a man telling you he's going to go to KFC and get a job, and unfortunately that's a whole other kettle of fish, but it does link in, because unfortunately politics is inexorably linked in with professional wrestling, and it doesn't need to be so overt, but at its bottom level, your audience is working class, and it's our obligation to not lead them in their political leaning, not lead them in how they think, but to lead them in kindness. To just say, you can believe what you want to believe. When you come here, you don't throw slurs at our wrestlers. You respect them regardless of their gender. You don't perv on them. And when we say it's for everyone, and we mention trans people, you don't boo. And you get a better perspective, so that when you leave here, you might look at your fellow man, woman, and individual a little bit differently. That's what we should be doing as an art form, because that's what theatre has always done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We have that obligation now.
I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. And there's a lot of... The majority of the places that I work, are these working class seaside northern towns. So Barrow in Furness, that's Knockout Wrestling. Odyssey in Morecambe. I mean, it's arguable, but has one of the most rich wrestling histories in the whole of the UK. You know, wrestling was an attraction for Morecambe for many, many years, and it's always been that affordable thing. Blackpool as well,
Blackpool,
for example.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fascinating to think about, but it just certainly give you like a bit of a sense of like responsibility. Okay, so if someone in today's world doesn't have a lot of money and they're choosing to spend it on this professional wrestling event, that's significant, and they deserve to be given their money's worth, even if tickets only cost less than £10, which they do in Barrow and Furness. £8 to get in, and Morecambe is sort of similar sort of pricing. So yeah, 100%. And this is just a rabbit hole we go down for so long. It's such an interesting discussion. I'm really enjoying it.
I would say, like, to anyone who is curious about this, obviously check out your video. But if you want to know more about economy and how we've gotten to where we've gotten, how we get, check out Jimmy the Giant is my recommendation personally. I have a really fascination with how the economy has worked with entertainment, and how we've kind of bounced back from how we got here. And just for anyone listening, that's not not a paid plug, but like I would say, like, if you want to learn more, Jimmy the Giant, and he's got tons of videos on the way that it all kind of works together.
Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. So let's I don't know. I'm just going to completely change the subject. It's not going to be a smooth transition at all. Oh, actually, okay. We've been talking a little bit about the past. We've been talking about how you got into wrestling. Let's look more recent. So look back on the year that's just been. What would you say is your proudest achievement of 2025?
That's actually there's two. As a performer, doing KNR with Alice Inc. and Endokara, going out and doing that, filming those videos was one of the greatest pleasures. Mark, Ashley, and Mark and Beth are two of the most talented videographers in the UK. I absolutely love Graps on Film as well. Yes. I think that there's so many people that are so talented behind the camera, but the one I've worked with, therefore the one I just have to give it to. It's Mark and Beth, who obviously have just done all of AEW. People don't know how much time, effort, and money and investment has gone into taking this as a job, and it's paid off wonderfully. And to have them filming our work, we flew out to Stockholm, we had a whole day of filming, we did the promos, and it's still like, there's also this thing in wrestling of you want to look cool, right? Commentators don't get to look cool. We just don't, right? And as a performer, as someone who acts, I was like, I really want to just look cool in the ring, but also in front of the camera. And to have that with my makeup done and the outfit, to speak from the heart, that was dope. And the match they had was with Shane Hook and Harrison Bennett at United. And I cannot list it as one of my favorite tag matches because I was there for it, but it was magic. And obviously we had plans this year that due to injuries did not happen, but we've talked about this year, and we'll see what happens with it. But as a performer, that was one of my proudest moments, I would say. Like, I'm so happy I got to do it with two of the best people, and we were we were popular when we went out, which is really cool. As a commentator, that's easy. It has to be Mercedes Mone. It has to be. To have gone and done that. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about it, but like, I'll let you figure out where you want to take that. But like, just on a general level, as a performer, as a person, I will say this: she is someone who does not need to give up as much time as she does. She really doesn't. She makes an astounding, 8 figures a year, if not more. She could have turned up, hauled her stuff in, big named it, diva herself. Did not do that. Spent well over 90 minutes planning an 18-minute match. Gave time up to everybody. Gave time up to me. Friendly. Just went out of her way to promote Body Slam, to promote what we did. And for me personally, shared me in her feed probably 9 times, 10 times. And would go out of her way to do that, which as a commentator is the greatest gesture you can have. But on a professional level, it's that match, 100%.
That's so cool. I love the fact that you have like the creative outlet to be a performer and do that stuff with KNR, but you also have, you sort of got the double-edged, the good double-edged sword of that. I think that's really cool. And yeah, I totally agree with everything you said about Mercedes. Like, she really doesn't have to go and have all these matches with all these independent stars and I know that some people for some reason take issue with it, but like putting these independent companies on the map, that really is what she's doing. She doesn't have to do that, but she does it by choice. I did meet her at a Rev Pro event that I was doing backstage interviews. We were in the same area, so I didn't really get to work with her per se, but she was so polite and had time for everyone, just exactly what you said, so humble. You wouldn't have any idea like that she is, if you had no idea about wrestling, that she is this huge star. She doesn't carry herself with any sort of ego or anything. So it was a total pinch me moment for me, because I was like, what the hell am I doing in this building right now? I mean, like Sasha Banks versus Bayley was the match for me that changed everything for me. So what the hell am I doing breathing the same oxygen as this woman right now?
That's such an interesting thing of like, I don't get many pinch me moments, and I don't really get starstruck, and I think it's because my brain goes, you are a professional, you could freak out afterwards, but you have to be there. So my buddy who's not involved in wrestling, and when we lived together, I got back into it, and so we did watch a bit of NXT, and it was Bayley and Sasha Banks in that New York match, and it was amazing. And obviously this is like one of those things where he said, oh my god, you're gonna freak out. I was like, no, probably not. Like, maybe afterwards internally, but no, I need to shake that person's hand. They need to know that I'm going to do them right, because there is a higher level of expectation, and you also don't know who's listening. So if there's ever a moment to not lose your shit, it's that moment. And there's nothing wrong with being a fan, right? I think you should always keep that energy and be that fan in comms, but you've got to channel it in the same way you would do any other bit. So like I shook her hand, just super friendly, and it didn't hit me until I was like in my hotel afterwards going, oh shit, I did a Mercedes Mone match. Like, oh, okay. And just to touch on something you said about like people complain about the belts and stuff. I don't personally subscribe to online discourse. I don't agree with a lot of what Nick Khan says in WWE. But I will say he does have one thing, right, which is you don't pay attention to online influencers and outlets. They have a use. I have no problem with them, but they're not workers. They belong on that side of the fence, and they don't know the business. They can use the terminology. They can go on the dirt sheets. They don't know the business. If they've never taken a bump in a ring, if they've never been under the high-pressure environment, if they've never learnt the techniques, and they've never sat there and done the job, they don't really know what they're talking about. They look like us, but they're not us. And when it comes to the way they talk about, Mercedes and the belts, it's business. So when Mercedes takes a belt, especially from Body Slam, which is the premier organization in Scandigraps, alongside NEW, that belt gets more prestigious as a result. The company gets a lot more eyes as a result. The match is the second highest viewed match Body Slam has ever put out on YouTube, and it only took a month to beat out the former one, which I think was 5 years, to get there. Like, social media numbers for everybody went up, eyes on the product went up, interest in Scandigraps went up. So people are, we're just going to lock it away and not use it. It's been on TV 20-something times. And the goalposts to keep getting, but you only get to see it because they don't mention it. It's like, who cares? It's being seen. It's being held. If you're a wrestling fan, you have to make belts matter. They are props, but they're a prop that says you represent our company. And it either matters or it doesn't. And people who are tribalists will always move those goals, but you can't win with them, which is why it's not worth that. But I know that on a business level, it has always paid off. Every company I know that has put their money into Mone, it has worked wonders for them. And for us, Alice Inc. had the belt for well over 1,000 days. There was no one else at that point who was going to challenge her. It had to be something special. And on a selfish level, for me, Alice is one of my best friends alongside Indakara. Like, that's my sibling. To be there and watch it and to call it was such a privilege, knowing what it meant to her. And it was one of the best women's matches of the year, of which I wish I'd called more. But business-wise, you have to be an idiot to not want to invest that, because it does pay off in the long run. And when Mercedes comes back and she has another match with someone like a Madison Marley, who is one of the most exciting prospects.
Oh my god, yeah.
Unbelievable human being. She's my bestie. And I've gotten to watch her from the very beginning of her career. When those two may end up going to war if Alice doesn't get a rematch. And if Madison Marley, at 18 years old, 19 years old, beats Mercedes Mone, it will be in every newspaper. It'll be on every podcast. It'll be everywhere. And it will only make her a bigger star as a result. So, in that sense, financially, social media, but most importantly, for preparing talent for the future, it is good for business.
I totally agree. Wins all around. Wins for everyone. And also, wins for Mercedes and AEW, because now they can tell the story of her. It started losing the belts and the epic crash out.
I was going to say, the legendary crash out of Mercedes Mone needs to be studied. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Exactly, and they can run with that, and that's going to make for brilliant television for them. So really, everyone's a winner. I think that people who complain about it, as is usually the case, just complaining for the sake of complaining and yelling at clouds for fun.
It's discourse.
So yeah. What is? I mean, you might say the same thing, but I wanted to ask you, like, what's the wildest, maybe most unexpected or craziest thing that you've done in 2025? It might be commentary, it might be something completely different.
So wildest and craziest is an interesting one. I did do 4 countries in 3 days. That was
what the hell?
That was exhausting. So I had to do a show. I had an acting thing in that would have been in Norway. So I've got to wet my head. I started in Norway on the Friday, and then I went over to Finland on the Saturday, to Denmark on the Sunday, and then Sunday night I was back in the UK. That was insane, and I don't recommend that. But like it was a lot of fun. It was just like a lot of plane hopping and going through the Scandinavias. On a insane point, probably trying to keep not physically, but like me and a bunch of us keeping an Olympic gold medal. I think is he a gold medalist? An Olympic medalist wrestler in Finland from getting in the ring and trying to have a shoot match.
What?
Festival. We did Scandigraps Invitational was at Slottsfjell in Norway in the sweltering heat, and me and the lovely Scotty Rourke were out there. And we, for lots of logistical reasons that I shall not go into, we didn't, all of us had a bit of an awkward situation where, imagine you're at Download Festival, and instead of the ring being up on a stage, it's just in the middle of the field, between stage 1 and stage 2. Boiling hot, and people are getting really drunk. Slottsfjell is a young person's festival, so it's an 18 to 25 somethings bladdered out of their asses on the third day, and no one was able to look after the ring because we all needed to cycle around, so we're doing 3 shows a day. And at one point, myself and Scotty are just keeping an eye on the ring. There's no way of like getting rid of the heat. Warhorse is upstairs getting ready for his match, and the 15th person of the day is going, can I get in the ring? And the drunker they're getting, the meaner they're getting, and it becomes the same thing of, oh, I'll fight you, I'm a wrestler. It's like, no, you're not a wrestler, and we don't have the insurance, and you'll get your neck broken. And then this one guy missing 2 front teeth comes up, and he is, man, he had the body of like a Greco-Roman wrestler, like these big shoulders, big pectorals, and a tiny bottom half. He was terrifying to look at. And him and his mate, who they did not tell us what they were, but they were like, oh, we're wrestlers, we want to get in there. And we were like, no, man, we can't do it. And he goes, oh, I could take you on. I was like, I'm sure you could, but the answer's no. And then one of the guys a little later comes down and says, this guy wants to get in the ring, and I'm just telling you right now, if he shoots on us, we're screwed, because he was insane. And thankfully it all worked out where like we had this tense moment of like, we're about to do the finals of the Invitational, and we don't know if this guy's too drunk and we'll try and mess around, and there's not a lot we could do about it. And thankfully it didn't. And then after that show, he got in and started throwing people around more, because he got like the promoter was like, oh, come on in, do a bit. And then we found out he wrestled for Finland in the Olympics. And so we were like, oh, well, this is good that we didn't have a situation on our hands. That was one of the wilder ones, I would say. That was probably like the peak moment of like, this is my life. This is my life at times.
Yeah, like what the hell? Just self-reflection, like how did I get here in this field? And that's hilarious. I mean, don't know what I was expecting asking that question, but certainly not that. That's a hilarious story. Thank you so much.
What about yourself? What is your wildest moment of 2025?
I mean, it's gonna sound pretty lame compared to that, but I mean, I commentated on a duck on a pole match. That was pretty fun.
Who's that between?
And also a 2-count match, which is
Okay.
1, 2. That was pretty fun. Commentated on a rumble, which is like a Halloween rumble, and it was won by someone dressed as Shrek. But it's one of them things where like it sounds stupid to everyone else, but it was Teddy Ray underneath the mask, this Shrek mask. He took it off. And it was like a huge return for him. He's been wrestling in Australia for the majority of 2025.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the fans, this was at Atomic Pro Wrestling, the fans there love him so much. And his signature thing, he's the Rat King, that's his gimmick. He bites people. So he lifted up the Shrek mask slightly, he didn't reveal himself yet, and he bit Joe Blazer on the arm. And at that moment, everyone knew it was him. And they were cheering, they were chanting Rat King, and it was so cool. It was so cool. And then he won the Rumble. But just that out of context, Shrek winning a Rumble is pretty wild. But with the additional context, it was definitely one of my favourite moments of 2025.
I would also say as an addendum, I did a Scooby-Doo themed show.
Amazing.
And Liam McCarthy, one of my favourite human beings in professional wrestling, If you haven't seen Liam McCarthy, folks, go and look him up, because he's one of the most terrifying looking human beings you could ever possibly meet. And yet he came out as Daphne. And it was one of the most incredible things about Liam is he will kill anyone. He'll murder, death, kill anybody in that ring, and you have no choice in it. But at the same time, he's one of the funniest human beings I have ever met. And it doesn't damage his aura at all. It's crazy. He is so out of pocket, insofar that, like, he had a match with Dominica at Win Wrestling. Can't believe he did this. And he because they're both like units going at each other. And Dominica is a force to be reckoned with. And in the middle, I've got to say this because it's on the footage, but in the middle of this match, he just grabs her hand, and she's on the ground, and just goes, that's your dinner making hand I've just taken out. Just stupid things like that. He's a very like, he had a whole bit where she did a hip attack and he was like, I'm right where I want to be. Like, you know, he's a really funny guy. He once wrestled a ghost, the ghost of the Phantom of the Phantom Brewery. He's just someone who is possessive of everything you would want in a performer. He is mean. He is athletic for a big boy. He's vicious, but he's so funny. He's in Mythos. If you guys haven't seen Mythos, go and see it. He is phenomenal in that production.
I love it when wrestlers are like all-rounders. So you can be a scary heel. You're huge. You know, like you say, can kill anyone, but also you can do comedy wrestling. That's a sign of a great wrestler, isn't it? When you can do everything.
He could be someone who's like, this is my this is how I am, and I'm a terrifying person, and I want to damage my image. No. And it makes him so much more personable and so much more of a performer. Because, yeah, I could say he's the nicest person ever, but you look at him, he will crush your head like a tiny little grape if you piss him off. Like, it doesn't matter what I say. You can't de-aura a man like Liam McCarthy.
It reminds me of Bryek Strong, who he's a pretty big guy. He's a fearsome heel, pretty much like a monster heel in Future Shock. He's also the Knockout Wrestling champion. But in Future Shock, they also do like non-canon events every couple of months where they do. Usually it's like themed, so like eras. We've done 70s, 80s, 90s, and Bryek Strong does this character called Brian Strong, who unfortunately has died at one of these events. So one of my other wildest things was the Peter Sado and Jensen Vesper had a casket match. They on one of these non-canon shows. They opened the casket, and Brian Strong, his corpse was in the casket. So they did a whole bit, which was quite funny. And then they propped him up on the chair next to us on commentary. So I did commentary next to a dead body, basically.
Oh, now I'm jealous.
But yeah, it's just like he is a very serious wrestler, but he's not afraid to on these shows just be it's just completely daft. And everyone on these Future Shock shows does that. I'm doing that this Sunday. It's a chance for them to test out a different character, I think. Try something different. Yeah. Be a different type of entertainer. Be comedy wrestling. It's great. And I actually found that a little bit challenging on commentary because I'm like, okay, this isn't like serious. There's not loads of background to this. So it's limited what research I can do. But I still want to take it seriously. But I want to be funny. But being funny it's not really one of my skills, I don't think. It doesn't come naturally to me, like, oh, let's crack a joke. I have to really, I find that quite difficult. So that I'm like, this should be fun and lighthearted, but I'm sitting there feeling more stressed than I would at a normal show where the stakes are even higher because, you know, that's easy to prepare for.
I get that. I think it's down to style as well. Like, my mentor, Ollie Spring, who I started the first half of my career with, Ollie is a natural, witty person. And I would argue, like, he is way more of a witty person. I mean, with Progress, he's very good at just kind of locking into the seriousness. But when we worked together, he would do the wit and I would do the seriousness. So, like, that kind of double act. Whereas I struggle with that. But if me and Arthur Scurro, who is one of my favorite people and just a real talented commentator, if we're together, especially if it's your mate as well, I think it's the benefit is if you travel with someone enough and you're having a laugh. Like, there's almost every show will have something where we pop each other. And we'll do it in a way that's very organic, but like I personally, speaking of the list of people in the booth, I love good chemistry in the booth. I
Yeah.
am not a fan. I don't mind the occasional heel face thing. It's fine, but over times it can overtake what's going on in the ring. And
Yeah.
unless that's what's good for a television product, I'm not a fan of it. But like when you have chemistry, when you get on with your co-commentator, it shows. And as a result, you get a way more nice flowing product. I solo so many of the places I work, and I love it, but it's so exhausting because you have no moments to breathe, and it's 2.5 hours, and if they're all banger matches, you got to save your boys. You can't always do that. And then if you've got 2 more shows that week where you're flying and you've got another show and another show, it can be a lot. Having someone like Arthur there to bridge that gap allows me to just take a breath, have a laugh, and I don't have to worry too much. And it reminded me this year in particular that we've worked together how important a co-commentator is to help lighten the load, because it can be a one-man job, but like, there's a reason that on television there's only been one man to ever do it on his own. And I don't think I would ever want to do it on my own permanently. It's much better when you have someone to bounce off of.
So true, so true. I think having, like you said, good chemistry, getting on with your fellow commentator, and when you've worked with them a few times and you've got the reps in, you sort of read each other's mind part, and it makes it so much easier, like you said, when you feel like you can trust someone, that if like, I forget to make a point, I'm pretty relaxed because I know that this person, I can rely on them to pick me up on something and maybe I've missed out or what have you, like to make all the important points, hit the most important beats. And also having different strengths is so true. Like, I think a big part of it is knowing, okay, am I going into this, am I play-by-play or am I colour? That'll change the way I prepare for it. And also knowing what the other person is like. So is it, like someone like Mark Adams, who I know you've worked with too, is very, he's hilarious, he's funny, he's got a dry sense of humour, he's great to work with. Someone like Isaiah Quinn, who I work with a lot, I've worked tons with him this year, and I can't recommend him enough as a commentator. Like, he's the best, like, as far as I'm concerned, who I personally work with, just because he's so easy to work with. He's always prepared. He takes it super seriously. He's got a great voice for it, but also he can be a heel, he can be funny, he can sort of play devil's advocate, he can be really balanced, like very multi-talented, and just like knowing that we've got different strengths, we bring different things to the table, make it work really well. And that's also reminded me, and I can't believe I didn't say this at first, 100% the wildest thing I did in 2025 was commentate at a wedding.
I saw some bits of this. That looks so cool.
Yeah, so it's up on YouTube for free if anyone wants to check it out. It's on the YouTube channel is called Talk the Line, and it's Lauren from Talk the Line who got married to Gav, and they decided, we don't really want like a disco at our night, do we? Want to show our friends and family what we're doing at weekends, because they sort of like help out at wrestling shows, ring crew and merch, stuff like that. So they were like, let's show why we're always busy at weekends. Let's bring a wrestling show to our wedding guests, and they had no idea it was happening. It was bizarre and brilliant, and I loved it. And I was on commentary with DJ King, and I don't work with him all that often, but when I do, we just have such a laugh, and especially this event, because we're like, it's a goddamn wedding. We kept on saying it, guys. This is a wedding. We're not working here. This is seriously. They've actually, Mark Adams actually officiated their wedding inside the ring for real. And we just had such a great time, and that is the wildest thing I've ever done, definitely in wrestling as a whole, to be honest. But yeah, we just had a good laugh, just brilliant, just laid back vibes. It was just so much fun.
That's so cool. I'm gonna watch that later. That I did see that, and I was like, I really want to see how this plays out.
It's bizarre when you just see the wedding guests sitting there being like, what the hell is going on? But they get into it. They obviously get into it. That's it. You mentioned a lot there about you 4 countries in 3 days. Obviously, a lot of them in, well, I think most of them all of them that you said were in like Scandinavia and stuff. Yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about what's the wrestling scene like in that part of the world? I'm not familiar.
Scandigraps has been a movement that's been kind of rumbling for a little while now, and I think one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about it is I've watched it grow, and the boys and girls and non-binary individuals in the back are training harder than I would say half of the Brit Rest roster. That's not a dig. It's just that they have so much less opportunities. Most places in Scandinavia have one promotion. In Norway, they didn't have professional wrestling on television for, I think Isaacson told me it was like over a decade. No wrestling on TV. The only wrestling you could get was Norges Wrestling Forbund. And so there was an obligation to provide good wrestling for them. And Eric Isaacson is royalty out there. He's been doing it for nearly 30 years. And he's still, the man is ageless. Like, he put up a picture, so jealous of this man, put up a picture of himself at Christmas. And I'm like, you don't look any different than when you were 25. Like, how dare you, sir? But he's a delight. And Norges is not his promotion necessarily, but it's where he is, does his thing. And they're very good. They've just had their 27th year, I think, at Power Slam. And I did some Salem with them in 2024. So they're very hungry out there. And in Sweden, they have a lot of different promotions. Like, they're probably the most populous of the groups. But they're doing quite well with like Stockholm and Svensk. They've got a good little scene out there. In Finland, one of the things I love about the Finnish scene is FCF, which is run by I don't know who runs it. One of the people who I know there is Regina Rosendahl. And Regina is an incredibly inspiring individual who had a huge knee injury that caused a massive surgery, returned to the ring, is a true icon and a massive proponent of LGBTQIA+. Those shows, the Northern Queens, are some of the best Scandinavian-focused women's international wrestling you will see, with a huge focus on uplifting women's talent, and has been for like several years. And they're very popular out there. And there is it's one of the most progressive companies I have ever seen doing what they do. And again, they're hungry. But then when you go over to Denmark is the crown jewel of the Scandigraps movement. Body Slam Pro Wrestling is now a place that most talent want to work. People like Robbie X, like when Robbie went over there for the first time and I was agenting and telling him about it, he was in the Scandigraps Invitational that year, and he was like, I have to come back here. Like, the energy, they're so hungry for good wrestling, and they have it's such an unrestricted feeling. Whether you're in Aarhus, so you got to the Pumpu set, which they're doing on January 10th. People like Matt Gatlin are going over, Joe Lando's going over, and I told Joe we were traveling recently, and I was like, man, you are gonna have so much fun, because it's a no restrictions, because the Danish don't believe in family shows. Every show is over 18s, right. So 700 people packed into a venue, go hog wild, and it's great footage and a great time. And because they're so hungry, they're very well refined. I mean, they've had multiple wrestlers out there go for WWE tryouts. Carlos Zamora, one of the best and most conditioned wrestlers. You got Alice Inc., who is like the best Scandinavian export. You got Michael Finn. You got Peter Olisander. You got Pete Phoenix, and you've got all these guys and girls who are PWI ranked. They're PWI ranked because of the level of prestige that comes with working at these places. And Nordic Elite, the other half of this promotion, they are a little bit newer, and they're more of an underground kind of like, I guess, I don't know, they're both places are metal, but they are the it's very hard to, I don't actually know if I have a good comparison, but they just did Armabio, which was a great year for Scandigraps in 2025, because you started with Pulin in February, which became one of the largest attended events in Scandinavian history, which is where one of my matches of the year happened with Oku. And then you had September with Armabio, which was the highest attended at 1,050. An incredible environment, incredible atmosphere, and a massive investment. And I wish, if there's anything outside of my own goals for 2026, I wish I could get Scandinavian talent to the UK. They would be such a benefit to the scene. Like, we bring over the UK people to Scandinavia, and they have a wonderful time. It's not reciprocated. I don't know why. We have tried for so many places, but they're not willing to take the risk. One of the best tag teams in all of Scandinavia is Randerspain, Adonis and Zander, and I want to see them, and the Sinners Club, Eli Castle and Gabriel Foss. I want to see those guys over here doing their thing, but they're not getting it. But when people watch it, when I hear from my colleagues in the locker rooms, when I hear from fans, the vibe is like, you want to be there, you want to experience it. It's almost a palpable level of excitement, and I'm so proud of what it's like out there. And it's just a no thrills, no restrictions kind of thing. It's, outside of Japan, it's one of my favorite places to be, because I just feel like I'm going home when I go out there.
That's so fascinating, and you've really sold it to me. You're making me want to go on holiday there and go watch a show. I'm not gonna lie, in Denmark. But so just to be clear, like you, I think I'm right in saying this. You commentate in English on these events.
Yes, no, I don't speak Dansk. I would be a terrible Danish speaker. They actually did do when we started, Emmy and Ollie, when we were both doing it at the time. They had Danish commentators, but I just don't think it got very many traction, and that's a shame because I think culture is important. I don't think there's anything wrong with loving your culture. I think there's a certain way of doing it where it's not cringe or nationalist or whatever, and I think the Danish should be, encouraged to that. I know that most places have that natural commentary. It just doesn't really pick up. I think WXW is a place where obviously it works. They have such a big market, but over in Scandinavia, it's not really there. So no, they bring me in for the British sound. They are the ones who gave me the title, the Voice of Scandigraps. I did not give myself that, but it is one I do wear with pride, and it's become like a synonymous thing. And I'm for as long as I'm able to do it, I'm very grateful to have that.
Absolutely, absolutely. As you should be proud of that. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Japanese wrestling too?
Yeah, it's not extensive, but I got an opportunity to go and do Big Japan. And my best friend Endakara was out there in Korakuen Hall in 2023, and my schedule lined up, and it was something that I really just needed to do. And I had no illusions it was going to be a big, long thing. It was a case of get my foot in there and get the opportunity. And the show was great. I had a wonderful time with it. Korakuen Hall had an energy. Like, I do believe that some old places have, like, energy about them. And it had that energy. But it wasn't the experience I wanted. Insofar that I can't really, come back and go, yeah, I did a Japan tour. I didn't. And it would be kind of disingenuous to imply that. I went out there and I worked. That much I could say, but it wasn't the way I wanted it to be, and there was a miscommunication in the sense of like what they were very happy with me, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, which left me with egg on my face, because no one wants to be like, yeah, I got this, and it doesn't happen. It is what it is. But I would love. I got the opportunity. I got to go out there and film. I got to go and do comms. So I can't really complain on that front. The Japanese scene is interesting in a sense of the way that they approach wrestling. Anyone who's ever wrestled in Japan or worked in Japan knows that the perception is very, very sacred to them. They look at wrestling in a way like, because it was a big thing post-war, at a time when Japanese sentiments and Japanese pride was incredibly low, especially because of what happened in World War II, especially what happened with China and obviously the nuclear bombs. It was given a responsibility to that generation to make stars. So the biggest faces were Japanese heroes who would get rid of the foreign devils. And regardless of what you might think, a country's pride is very important. They need to have his civic national pride. And the Japanese didn't have that. And so one of the things that has become so deeply important about Strong Style that a lot of people don't understand, when you go from places like Nobuhiko Takada and Giant Baba and Inoki, and you go all the way down through the generations, one of the things that's very important is that they need to feel like they are allowed to be proud of themselves. They're very self-aware as a nation, and national pride is seen as a bit of an awkward subject, I guess, in a very British in that sense of we have people like I've got pride in British culture. It's very rich and historical and cool and medieval, but I also know that it's not wise to take overt pride in it because of what we've done with colonization. And same with them, they have the same sort of thing of an acknowledgement, but they deserve to feel pride in that. And that's why one of the things when you see professional wrestling in Japan, when they cry, it's because they truly feel that struggle. They feel that enmity. They feel that passion overcoming them. I remember a moment that is always like, so one of the greatest commentators, I think, is Shinpei Nagami, who I don't believe does commentating. I think he got picked up by soccer, but he was New Japan's principal lead commentator. And there's a clip of Yuji Nagata, Blue Justice, winning the Never Openweight Championship from Shibata about 10 years ago, and Shinpei's crying on the call, and he's like screaming, like and weeping, and it is one of the most beautiful things. And if there was a moment outside of JR and everything else that I wanted to be a commentator, that was the moment for me. He watched his childhood hero that he had seen on television since he was like 8 years old, and he watched him in his 50s win what is considered the strong style belt for that company. And that's how they are. They will stop you. You know, we had to walk around. It was New Year's. Me, Tempesta, and Endakara. He had the Big Japan Junior Heavyweight belt. And we're walking around on New Year's, and we're trying to figure out what to do. And he couldn't put it in his luggage, so we had the belt around him. Like, and people would come up, and then like these old ladies would just come up and just squeeze his muscles and take a picture and pull him in. And they weren't aggressive about it, which is what made it really sweet. They were just so in awe of him. Like, they just found the whole thing incredible, and you know, they would want to take pictures, but they're so deeply passionate about it in a way that is very different to Western passions, and it gives you this whole different appreciation for it. And I will say, one of the reasons it's my sole goal for 2026 to be out there with somewhere like Q-Pro or All Japan or GLEAT or Noah is, if you are someone as a performer, as a broadcaster, whatever it is in wrestling, and you want to lock in, there is no greater place in the world to lock in than Japan, because you will not want to do anything else but wrestle. All you'll do is want to get up, go about your day, get some food, see the sights, and go and train or go and get the notes. I don't know how to explain it in that sense, but it is unlike anywhere I've ever been. And the wrestling is of a quality that you simply you can't see it anywhere else.
That's so interesting. You definitely, I think, accurately conveying like just how sacred wrestling is to Japanese culture, and definitely a long-term goal of mine. Yeah, to even just to travel to Japan really, and just visit even as a tourist, even if not working, and to go watch something in the Tokyo Dome would be incredible. But that's so interesting that you've had these global experiences. It's so interesting to hear about that, and I'd love to experience wrestling in different countries. Yeah, maybe I think probably Denmark or Norway is on the list for me. So I think you briefly mentioned it earlier when you were talking about that, but I think you said a Michael Oku match was one of your matches of the year. What matches have really stood out to you this year? Might be ones that you've commentated on or not. Doesn't really matter. Up to you.
I have to be honest, I've not watched any product properly this year. I really fall behind. I'm actually catching up on AEW from 2024 still. I do believe what I've seen of the product has always deeply impressed me. That's the kind of wrestling I love. That's what speaks to my brain box. I've just been so busy, I haven't been watching a lot. But in fact, even like Rev Pro Progress, I just don't get the time, and that's no disrespect to it. If someone sends me a match, I'll watch it, but I haven't had a lot of time to. I would say my match of the year to call is Michael Oku versus Endakara. Bias notwithstanding, I love both guys to death. They're good people. Oku is, in my opinion, the #1 pound for pound wrestler in the UK, with probably Jay Joshua being right there behind him in #2. Jay Joshua, I know we both know Jay. I couldn't be happier, just on a side note, for Jay's success. To know Jay is to love Jay. He is just such a wonderful human being, a dedicated human being, and there is no one who deserves that more right now, in my opinion. Just such a cool moment for him, especially with that match with Shah. That actually, I did catch that match. That would be one of my matches of the year to watch. Him and Shah Samuels. But Oku and Endo was very special. Because those two had crossed paths before when they were much, much earlier in their career. They got to do it again. It was an absolute banger of a match. Up there, outside of that, ironically enough, one of my MVPs is Mark Haskins. I got to call a few Haskins matches this year because he was United's champion. His matches with Chris Aries were seminal. Chris is someone who will be a huge star in the business. In the South, he is just an absolute killer, and he's only 3 and a bit years in, and he's a multiple title holder. He's dedicated, he's dangerous, and if you can get a great match with Haskins like that, you're something special. And conversely, someone else who really deserves that shout is Liam Jones. Liam is the super beast. He's just done Q Pro, born to do this. The man is in his early 20s. He is a super heavyweight that moves like a cruiserweight. He hits like a fucking truck. And he's just a very dedicated individual to the craft. And the match he had with Haskins was also on a singles level, just next level. And then, of course, Alice Inc. and Mercedes Mone. Just masterful. masterful to see a match like that with that magnitude that didn't need to go the way it did in terms of the level of intensity, the level of fire and passion. It was just an absolute banger. I was so impressed. It's on a singles match level. I would say those. The other, in fact, no, there was one others, and that would be Robbie X and Nathan Cruz at BWR. Oh shit, no, because there's also Scotty Rourke and Robbie. It gets hard. Let me lock in and think of one match on a technical level. On a technical level, it would be Oku and Ender, because they're two very fast individuals. On a story level match, Nathan Cruz and Scotty Rourke for the BWR World Heavyweight Championship. That was an incredible story, and BWR has given me, when we talk about broadcasting, they have the highest level product in terms of Titantrons and backstage pieces, and one of my greatest joys is doing cold opens, doing these little clippable moments that go into the massive special videos that Mark Ashley makes. Those are what I think are my pride and joy, getting the most clippable moments, putting them into the biggest story pieces, and knowing it carries them. So I would say Nathan Cruz in the story match, and then on a general war, probably Chris Aries and Mark Haskins 3 that they just had a couple weeks ago. So on a singles level, I'd probably say that, and then magnitude and Mercedes and Alice.
I love that very, very thorough answer. It's hard.
It's hard,
It's hard
man.
to say.
I feel like you're letting someone down. Someone's going to DM me and go, what about you this match, bro? What, you didn't like it? It's like, no, man, I loved it. You can only get a few.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, we don't have all day to
No.
shout out everyone, but yeah, appreciate that absolutely. I'd say, like, for myself, from a fan's perspective, from just watching, Hangman Adam Page versus John Moxley Texas Death Match. Oh my God, work of art, perfect, loved it. The listeners of the Two Speak podcast voted that their match of the year as well, and I totally agree. Oh no, wait, actually, I'm lying. It was actually a draw. It was that, and also Mariah May versus Toni Storm, Hollywood ending match.
I did catch the end of that, and unbelievable ending. Really. You can say what you want about Mariah May, but you can't have a more perfect ending than that. And again, AEW is doing these exciting things. I'm in my world outside of wrestling, I'm a writer. I do horror, and I'm a transformative experimental author. And what gets me up in the morning is experimenting with my craft. Wrestling is the same. That's what appeals so deeply about AEW to me. Is I can go in and I get so many different flavors of what I love. And I heard All in Texas is one of the best events of the year, and I'm so excited to catch up with it. But there's things that they've done. The idea of putting the title in the briefcase and locking the belt away for 9 months. You don't see it once, and then when it's finally brought out, it's this huge moment of it reminds audiences the belt is important. Its visualness is important. And they did that through a simple prop. Just a real simple prop.
Yes.
Just to John Moxley winning the Continental Classic. They've turned a guy who was the most hated guy, and now he's the most beloved on it with a broken tooth and a dream and a great promo. Like, that, it hooked that shit into my veins. That's good. It's interesting. They didn't even have the Death Riders turn on him. So it's like, okay, well, they're not going to go that way either. Like, it's that whole thing of don't be lazy with your expectations. Make them think, make them work for it. And of course, you get the star that is Takeshita. Print money with Takeshita. Absolute specimen. So there's so much to appeal. But what was the event of the year for AEW that you guys voted on, actually, out of curiosity?
It was All in Texas.
It was? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was outstanding, top to bottom, perfect piece of art. I mean, I don't often stay up late to watch wrestling nowadays because, like, when I was younger, I'd, so excited, I'd stay up on a school night to watch Raw because for some reason, still don't really know why I did that, but, nowadays, I value my sleep and I want to go to sleep, but that was the one event of the year where I was like, I have to stay up and watch this, and it was so worth it. It was perfect. It was perfect, and the ending, like you say, freeing the championship belt from that briefcase, so simple yet so effective. Oh my God.
Can
Just
I ask,
remind me I love wrestling.
what is your singles match, before we go on to tag, what is your singles match? I'd like to hear yours as well.
In terms of, like, commentating?
That commentary, yeah.
Oh, man. I have... I have three. I have three. I know that's.
I mean, I had five. I'm not judging.
So two of them are from Spinebuster. So
Nice.
Shane Hook versus Leon Cage. I can't remember the exact episode of Spinebuster it was, but if anyone's interested, comment below. I'll find out and tell you. You have to watch this match. It's absolutely.
They're so talented. They're so
astounding match.
criminally talented. I love both guys. And I've been to Spinebuster. I love just a sidebar, by the way, folks. Like as Lucy said, like if you're not watching Spinebuster, it's the closest you'll get to Lucha Underground. Like if only in aspects of presentation, not in overall. But it's such a great idea. Andy is such a good mind for the business, and the matches are fucking phenomenal. Like it's one of the only things I will go out of my way to seek out. Like I cannot stress enough like how much worth it has in the business.
Yeah, 100%. And Andy's always, he wants to give people a platform. So it's like, it's dream matches, like fantastic, huge stars, but also up and coming wrestlers. And that's his whole thing. He wants to give people an amazing platform to improve and get their name out there. So I think it's very commendable. And he puts all these matches out there for free. It's Spinebuster Media is the YouTube channel. So do research that. Go give them a subscribe. Go watch all the amazing free content that they put out there. Because it's, fantastic. And Shane Hook versus Leon Cage, it was for the Underground Championship. The story was just spot on, but the in-ring action was even better. There was a story outside the match. They told a story within the match that was also really effective. Everything about it was chef's kiss. The other Spinebuster match is for me personally, one of my matches of the year is Kanji versus Aaliyah James.
Oh.
Banger. It is also one of the more recent episodes, and again, I'm annoyed at myself I haven't written down like which specific episode, but I can easily find that out. But another just complete banger, and this was more of like it's still in the grind. Spinebuster has this unique concept of the grind where you have to win medallions, but it was more of an exhibition match. There wasn't really a story going into it, but again, they told a story within the match that got you just so invested in it. So yeah, really, really privileged to be able to lend my voice to matches like that. And then my other one was Teddy Ray versus Scott Oberman at Atomic Pro Wrestling Nuclear Winter 3.
What?
I love him.
Yeah.
He's my wrestler of the year. I mean,
that's
as
a
far
good
as
question. Wrestler of the year, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has had a banger over 2025. He's been not just like winning championships and getting into all these promotions, but he's been wrestling incredible matches, telling stories. He's the hardest worker as far as I'm concerned, because he puts so much effort into cutting these promos, filming them in his own free time, really putting a lot of effort into his craft. And I talked earlier about Teddy Ray. He won the Rumble as dressed as Shrek. So this is how we got that opportunity to challenge Scott Oberman, and they had a story before Teddy went to Australia, so it was like unfinished business.
Yeah.
And like on a personal level, I know Teddy Ray, like we've known each other a long time. We're from the same area. We've known each other since we were like teenagers. So it's like all these factors combined that I've just mentioned, like combining to make this ultimate perfect moment, and it definitely was. Like, personally, my favourite match I've ever commentated on, not necessarily saying, it was the best wrestling match I've ever seen, but from a personal standpoint, to me, it was my personal favourite, and I believe that Atomic do put all their shows up on YouTube for free. It's not up yet, but it will be very soon, so everyone should go and watch that.
I think, like, for me, Wrestler of the Year is a tough one. I definitely get some shouts before I give my pick, but, like, one of them that would get up there is Madison Marley. And the reason I would not give it to her yet is because every year she'll get it. Like, Madison has just done, she's done Seedling. She just did a WXW tour. She is constantly getting experience. She's 18 years old and she's only getting better.
That's crazy.
And she is definitely up in that. Again, my Wrestler of the Year is probably shared by a few people, but I would be remiss to not put her there. Like, I'm so proud of her. Alice Inc. has to be there, because if you wrestle Mercedes Mone, you've got to be up there, especially she's just killed it in the past year. I would say Chris Aries for the work he's put in, Liam Jones for the work he's put in, both men, multiple champions and multiple promotions, but as I said, like it's that all-rounder aspect. They're compelling in what they do. But I would say if I was pushed to give one, it would be Scotty Rourke. Scotty has had such a blinder of a year with the matches he's had in 3 different nations, and obviously with TNT, with BWR, with United, with Catch. He has just constantly delivered, and I think what's really exciting for me is I see in Scotty a man who is so assured of himself in his skill set, in his mic work, and his look, and he's never been more confident. And he will take that, and I genuinely look at him. I'm like, he's ready. Like, he's ready for that next step. He's ready to be a star. He just needs the next push. And while I have cool matches for people who are at bigger places in their careers at that point, he just is, to me, exemplifies, like when I say Wrestler of the Year, I'm thinking who is ready to get to that next point. Whereas Madison Marley, she's already done WXW, she's already done Seedling, and she's already going to be that person. But Scotty, to me, if I call a Scotty Rourke match, it's going to be fun, it's going to be violent, and it's going to be entertaining. And if he gets a mic, it's going to be even more than that. So like, I always know what I'm getting with him, and I think he had the most compelling stories as well for me as a commentator. And you've commentated quite a few Scotty Rourke matches, so I know you know what I'm talking about.
100%. He's a joy to have backstage, and like you say, you know that his matches are always going to be high energy, violent, unpredictable. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, a great wrestler all around. I totally agree. Ready for that next step, certainly. There's a couple other wrestlers on my sort of list, but yeah, Scott Oldman for me is the one, but also RPD, who is pretty huge in the Northwest scene, and I just feel very, sounds strange to say about a grown man, but I feel very proud of him, and I think he deserves all the things that he's achieving at the moment, wrestling for Progress,
yes,
Bloodsport, etc. Jay Joshua as well, I know you spoke about him earlier.
If I'd had more of him, I would have. That's the only reason I haven't, is I've only called like 3 matches of his. If I had called more, I would say it. If I was in Rev Pro, there's no question. Like, it's like Oku, right? He is arguably the MVP going into 2026 now, and Oku's probably number 2 if there was those rankings. But it would be wrong when I've only called like 3 of his matches, and he knows that I think the world of his skills. I genuinely think he's probably the best in the country right now. But I can't give him that when I've called like 16 Scotty Rourke matches, and I've seen that growth. Like, it's tough in that sense. But yeah, sorry.
No, absolutely. I know what you mean, because probably for me that's a big part of it. I didn't even think of it that way, but Scott Oberman, I did totted up all my stats. He was the wrestler that I commentated on the most. Yeah, 16 times. So I think that definitely plays into it, doesn't it? And then the only other person I'd give a shout out to is Rio. Personally, she's my favourite indie wrestler. I will always say this. I just love everything about her, and she wrestled Mercedes recently. I haven't actually watched that match, so I can't speak to the quality of it, but I bet it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, love Rio.
She had one of my matches of the year for 2024 at Body Slam. She came in, she had an absolute banger with Anita Vaughn and tore the house down, no story. The same night, I think it was the same night, Alex Windsor had a match with Alice Inc., also one of the best matches for the belt. And it was like, yeah, Rio, like a lot of talent at the moment, they're so reliable. You know what you're getting when you bring them in. Yeah. Rio will deliver. Unbelievable in that sense. 100% an MVP.
Yeah, and I had some. Oh yeah, I remember now. I got my train of thought back. There's one other match that I wanted to shout out, but I didn't commentate on it. But it is one of my matches of the years. It's from True Grit, which I've already talked about. It was at I believe it was at their Pride show. It was Tony Wright versus Adam Bolt in a ladder match for the Pride Championship, and everyone who was lucky enough to watch that live was immediately on social media, like, as soon as this goes live, everyone has to go watch it. This is a match of the year contender, and yeah, they were right. Absolute banger. I think ladder matches are quite hard to do right, and they absolutely nailed it. It was a banger. I definitely recommend.
Ironically, my tag team match of the year was a ladder match. It is Cher's top place. So I have 2 top tag team matches of the year. My first one is the Row Bros versus Bread for Better versus the Violence Party in a tables, ladders, and chairs match at BWR Viva la Revolucion. Where somehow no one got hurt despite some of the disgusting bumps that they took, and the Row Bros won the belts. An incredible moment. It was so lovely, and Zach and Cam are so exciting for two young lads, both under the age of 20. It's criminal how good they are, and ironically, they are the other half of my tag team match of the year against CPF. Joe Lando, Danny Black at United. Put on an absolute blinder. I actually haven't called as much tag team wrestling this year as I should have done, and I really wish I'd done more. Selfishly, I wish KNR had been able to do more. When we had the match with Harrison Bennett and Shane Hook, and it was my first time meeting Shane Hook, I think I'd properly. What a lovely guy, but it was instant chemistry, and it was one of the best. For me, selfishly, that is tag match of the year, but I did not call it. So I cannot say that. Someone else I want to quickly shout in the Absolute Maverick, Tommy Kyle, commentated that. Tommy Kyle is about to go and do Q Pro and is someone I wish would be in the North more. He has the physique. He is an incredible worker on the mic. He's such an easily hateable heel because he's so good at his crowd work. He's clean in the ring. He is just an absolute phenom, and he's in his prime. And I hope after Q Pro in the spring, more places pick him up because he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. If anything, he would be up there as my other MVP because every single time I've seen him perform, there's no wasted movement. There's no wasted. He had a banger of a match with Josh Holley just a month and a half ago, and he's one of those people doesn't have bad matches, and all I want for him is to see him with new talent, new people, and to see where he goes with it. But the problem is, once you start going down that rabbit hole, it never stops, and suddenly everyone needs to be shouted out. But Tommy Kyle's someone who I don't think gets enough love, and as an overall talent, from the physique down towards the psychology, few get it the way he does.
All very worthy shout-outs there, and those matches sound like bangers as well. That I'll definitely have to check out. It's funny you mentioned CPF. They are also in my tag team match of the year. Okay. It was at Spinebuster, the live show that they did in Margate in the middle of the year. It was like summertime. It was CPF versus Rising Tide versus Like Costume, and it was chaos. It was fast paced. It was high flying. Everything you could possibly want from a triple threat tag team match, and loved it. Yeah,
that's awesome. If I was to say what was your moment of the year, and that could be as an individual or as a commentator, like the moment you're proudest of from your point as a broadcaster.
That's a good question. I mean, you flipped the tables on me, but I've been giving you the hard questions, and now I know what it feels like. I've already mentioned Teddy Ray winning the Monster Mash Rumble, but I guess from me as like a personal, like what I guess I was most proud of, was probably like overall working the Future Shock 21st anniversary show.
That's awesome.
It just felt very, very special, and Future Shock was always a goal of mine, but it felt a little bit out of reach because it felt like quite a lofty goal. Like I always saw it as one of the biggest indies, and like, okay, yeah, it's pretty local to me. Yeah, I've got good relationships with most of the people there, but for some reason I felt like, I don't know, am I good enough for this? And then to be brought in, that was the first Future Shock show I ever did. That huge anniversary show felt very validating for me, and I felt very proud of myself, to be honest. And I had a lot of fun. Big stories were blown off there, and I felt like I did some great work. Got some really nice feedback from that, and I was like, yes, this is validating. I feel like I belong, and I didn't need to be nervous or feel like, okay, am I good enough? Like, yeah, maybe I am.
Maybe.
How about you?
So a couple honorable mentions. Bloodbound had this incredible death match over in Nordic Elite Wrestling, and it was a story that had lasted 3 years. So the culmination was incredibly satisfying to be there for that moment. At Amabio, I would say another one is Nathan Cruz's final match, BWR for the Ring of Honor. Nathan's such a giving performer and was great with his feedback, and to have that endorsement from him. I think to be endorsed by people who are involved with All Elite Wrestling and Ring of Honor, I've called a Ring of Honor World title match as well, which is something I hold very dear to my heart. With Jonathan Gresham, who I think is one of the most incredible technical workers. So, I make no secret that I'd love to be in those companies one day, but there's not a spot right now. So it's like, just keep getting noticed. But knowing Cruz is at that level, where he's gone off to go and do that, and that's now his life, and he was not just happy, but he was very proud of the work he'd put in. I put in with him. I was very happy with that. I would say there's two joint moments, and they are both at United. And then the only other one mentioned is, of course, Mercedes again, because it's such a big thing, right? Out of all my clippable moments, there's no bigger moment than Mercedes winning the belt, but that's the cheating answer. The first one is, I would say, Arthur Scuro getting the future-proof belt. He didn't know he was getting it, and it was in a 3 stages of pirate match. Now, that was with the wonderful Steve Valentino, and I've known Steve for 15 years. We went to university together, and then we reconnected through wrestling. And he is I always forget the name of the championship. Oh gosh, that is so embarrassing. He's got a belt. He got through. He defended Wrestle Carnival. He's defended it internationally. It wasn't on the line here, but he's someone who has got incredible physique, and he's also got a pirate gimmick. And he came in, and Arthur Scuro is also a pirate. He's the plunder taker. And they were doing it for the future-proof championship. The future-proof belt in United, the way it was at the time was, you got it, you could then basically cash it in for any belt, any division, anytime, anywhere. And it was vacant because of an injury. So the first stage is Pop-Up Pirate. It's Pop-Up Pirate, the game. They're sitting there doing it.
Oh my God.
It's online. You can go and check this match out. It's incredible. And there's a moment where Valentino is trying to put in, and then you just see offside. You just see Arthur's going, not that one. Not that one there. Not that one, like trying to freak out. And it only ends when someone gets the pirate to pop up. The second stage was hook wrestling. One hook to the other. Find out who can overpower the other for a pin. Then the third stage was a treasure fight, street fight, which is like really like death matchy. And at the end of it, Arthur wins, and he has to find out what's in the treasure chest. He did not know the belt was in there. He did not know who was winning it. So when he opened it up, it was the most wonderful thing. It was a great night because we debuted KNR. I was feeling very emotional. We had a lot of other things on that show. And then just to see him, there's a moment that will stick in my brain where he opens up and he closes it and like he can't believe it. He cuts this amazing promo about giving a punt in the dark on a guy who sometimes likes to think he's a pirate. And it reminded me of how special he was. The other moment from United is Chris Aries getting the belt back from Mark Haskins. A story that had taken over 2 years. He'd always lost to him. He lost to him when it was his only loss in his singles career at United. He lost to him again when he was the champion, and then he had to get it back from him in his final moment of redemption. Great story. Just a really palpable moment that was the simple, beautiful things about wrestling. Seeing someone overcome the odds, get to that point, take the belt, and redeem themselves. And ironically, they're both brothers, so of course it must run in the family. But they only just revealed this on the last United show, so I'm not spoiling anything. But they are like, both of them, for both being under 4 years in the business, both are incredibly talented individuals, and they've given me such great moments. For as cool as some of the bigger things are, like, it's the story moments that we get, and I would say like those are mine.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that. That pre-stage of Pirate or whatever. That was beautiful.
Oh, it was.
I really want to watch that.
I will drop you a link.
Thank you. Well, as we start to like draw this to a close, I think you've already mentioned working in Japan, but what are some of your wrestling-related New Year's resolutions or goals for 2026?
Yeah, so I've made it very clear to pretty much everyone who will listen that I am very proud of my work on the UK scene. There are places I'd love to work, but at the moment, unless it's something special, like, I feel very deeply in my soul that the place I need to be is Japan. I need to be out there. I need to just immerse myself. I'm lucky enough that I have a job that allows me to kind of just carry on while I'm out there, which a lot of people can't say. I'm waiting on a couple things at the moment that I can't say because in case they don't happen. But for me, going out there and getting is the way I'm going to get better. Getting better, getting immersed in it, and just doing what I do and providing that style, and then hopefully coming back and bringing something new to the business. Like everything else is a bonus. If I can go out and work, whether it's GLEAT, whether it's All Japan, whether it's Kyushu, whether it's Noah, whether it's Big Japan again, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm out there and I'm learning, I will be happy and I will come back with those skills. I'd say outside of that, I would just love more compelling stories. The more I get that I can sink my teeth into, the better I'm going to be for that talent. And it's the same for all of us. Like, you give us gold, we will turn it into something truly special when it comes to the footage.
100%.
What about yourself?
All fantastic goals there. For me, I would love to work outside of England. Like I'm I'm early in my career. I'm keeping it kind of small and achievable. Even just Scotland, I'd be really pleased with. I would love to work. I've only ever done one all women's show, which was a catch show that they did, and I would love to do another one of those. I'm not embarrassed to say this. I really want to work for Eve. That's like probably
Same. I'd love to.
Huge goal for me. But any sort of all women's show, I'm not fussy about that. What else? I did actually make a list, which I'm going to consult right now. I mean, mainly just to work at least one new promotion. If I can just increase my list of promotions even by one, I'll be pleased with that. Hopefully increase like the number of matches that I commentated on last year. Like hopefully. Obviously, it's always quality over quantity, and try not to judge myself too harshly on like the numbers and stuff. But that is, to me at least, is an indicator that like things are going in the right direction. If I can get a bit busier, and just to be just a bit more proactive and a bit more confident. Like, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to message a promotion and say, "Hey, do you need a commentator? I'm here." If you do, or asking people for feedback, or posting more. That's just something I want to get a bit better at. So, yeah,
I'd say you're already very good at the posting aspect, believe me. But I think, like you said, like being willing to ask, because the worst is that a promotion will say no. The second worst thing is they'll leave you on red. And the thing is, being told no doesn't mean it's permanent. It's just like for the time being, no, they don't need you. And we have it hard in that sense, because a wrestler can go in and be like, oh, well, we don't need you this show, maybe next show. Whereas if they've got broadcast people on commentary, the chances are they'll be a while before they're going to need someone to fill that spot. Doesn't mean you should ever disregard it entirely. Like, there's always opportunity to go back there, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, I think it's scary, but what, like you said, what's the worst that's going to happen? They ignore you, or they say no, and you're not gonna. This is what I have to tell myself sometimes. I'm not gonna die. Doesn't matter. It's fine. But yeah, as we draw this to a close, do you have anything else you want to plug? I know you talk about your novel and your YouTube channel and things like that.
Well, the novel I won't even be able to like discuss until it's like actually like we have a release date and stuff. So like, as much as that would be cool, like I sadly can't. The YouTube channel, Dusklight Radio, if you love horror, as a lot of people in our business do, I do transformative, dynamic horror styles and storytelling, some of my own, some of my colleagues in the industry, and like we said, it's rapidly rising with like 13,500 subs, so a very big community. Very proud of it. I don't do a lot of the wrestling stuff on there because they don't normally want to see the person behind the narration, but you know what? It's there. They know who I am. Obviously, my Instagram, the TJ Lea, but generally speaking, like, it mostly just like, that's it. I do the traveling for wrestling, and then I do the horror. That's kind of my life at the moment. But I would love to, have anyone who enjoys a spooky story pop on over. Just like I would hope my audience will pop on over to check out the Too Sweet podcast.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'll definitely pop a link in the description to your YouTube channel, and make sure you go follow TJ on all the socials, the TJ Lea on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. What a fascinating discussion it's been. We've been on lots of different tangents and stuff. I've enjoyed it so much, and it's one of those, where I feel like we could just talk for hours, and
Oh,
we could
yeah.
probably do a part 2 and talk about a million different things. It's been great.
Oh, I'd love to, and I've definitely kept you longer than planned. But anyone who knows me, when they tuned in, they looked at the time and went, "Yep, that sounds about right for Tej." I am a serial yapper, but thank you so much for having me, for bringing me onto your show, and I only hope that I delivered something interesting.
Absolutely, it's been fascinating, and don't forget, everyone, if you're listening and you enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, or if you're listening on Spotify, drop us a follow and a rating. It really helps us to reach more people, so thank you for listening.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bye.
I wish you died in the womb!